And we are live.
Banana. Hey everyone.
Ma-na-na-na-na.
Banana. Hey everyone. It's funny because I don't blame myself for this. I didn't put that we were live anywhere, but I blame JD for not giving me enough warning.
Manuel, we've been live for
Somehow.
7 minutes now.
Oh well, I didn't know. It's your fault. Hey everyone, it's Ultra Podcast Z. It's your friendly neighborhood cryptid Manuel. Yeah, we have some topics today. They have to do with Fanime, they have to do with Valentine's Day, they have to do with other nonsense that I've been wanting to get off my chest. And maybe we'll talk some fantasy and continue the fantasy trend. I don't know. The fantasy is that there's never going to be like drama to talk about. Go to say what's up, Josh, while I put that we're live. We are.
And I am your photo loving what's it called? Dang it. I said that so
Aku?
wrong. I was like not prepared. I was like trying to help with share some of the stuff. I am your photography otaku here again with the A to J crew and always glad to be here. Glad to talk stuff.
Yep. It's I wonder if we're gonna do like because JD made that joke last time that it's gonna be we try to talk about, and it reminds me like I used to be a huge fan of well, I still am. I don't want to say I used to be. I'm a huge fan of Call Me Kevin. I was thinking about that earlier today because I'm like, remember when he was small and I used to follow his old channel before I deleted it because like it had died. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of Call Me Kevin, OG. But he back in the day when he first started, now he has like 3 million subs or whatever. Back in the day, he was really small, and he used to title all of his videos, "It's the Simpsons game, but it's the Sims 2." But and the but was always like it's mad clickbait 101. But yeah, should we just do that all the time? We try to talk about this, but but I feel like the but will always be when Manuel went off on a tangent. And it wouldn't exactly be like a secret about what happened, what derailed it. Isn't that right, JD?
Yes. I'm just happy you're not ranting about Tetsuya Nomura again for 10 minutes.
Dude.
Manuel, don't get into
it. It's Valentine's Day almost. Is anyone happy for Valentine's Day? Sorry, I was sharing all my shit. How do you like? Okay. Valentine's
I'm
Day
happy
soon.
for Valentine's Day.
I know. Don't like. Oh well, I forgot. Look at him, Mr. Lottie. Die has a girlfriend. He's like. He has a Valentine's. Everyone still has. If you don't, you have 6 hours to get one. Because if it's not by
I'm
midnight,
assuming you're in the West Coast or the Pacific time zone.
Yeah,
You don't necessarily need to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever
yeah, I
to
agree.
have a Valentine. You could just get a Valentine.
Plus, you only need one by midnight tomorrow, or midnight, I guess, technically on the 15th. So you've got a lot more hours.
It's funny, like even when I've been at my worst, like when I've been, like I've had a couple Valentine's days in my life where like it's like, ugh, relationships suck. I'm like, I've had some crazy shit going on with whatever. I never was a fan of all the anti Valentine's Day stuff. I don't know why. That just feels weirdly needlessly negative. Like, oh, it's Single Awareness Day. Oh, I hate this holiday. I'm gonna like, yell at couples all day or something. Like, ew, you guys disgust me. It's like, come on, just chill. Like
The one time Manuel's not bitter.
I know the one time you would think I'd be like, oh, I fucking hate it. Yeah, so I wanted to point out, in case you thought that my little jab at Josh that was serious, I was just messing around. I don't actually. I'm not like, Josh is out the cool club.
That's like very it's very that sounds like something the Red Bull Red Bull.
That's my
I wanna talk
favorite
about
Soviet Deadpool.
But like that sounds like something like a red pill type of person would like say, or like somebody who's like, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It was funny because like, oh, nah, we saying fuck Valentine's Day to the nth
Nah.
degree. I don't know what the power of N is though. We don't know what that is just yet. So
I used there was a con in NorCal called AOD Con, and it used to always happen more or less around Valentine's Day. Also, Level Up used to happen around Valentine's Day, the con in Vegas. Um, I remember there were several AODs. Well, not several. There was two, but like the two I went to while I was working at Party City, like
Mhm.
we could not take Valentine's Day off, so I had to I just went and then started calling people the night before so that I wouldn't have to put like anything out there. My district manager wouldn't be all like, "What the fuck? Where'd you go?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm sick. Oh my god, I think I was sick and got in a car accident."
Oh, fudge, man. Are you okay?
I did it. I just lied. I'm that person. And I used to like I can say this now. I don't know how much of this is like fraud at this point. But like I remember like my mom was a nurse. Well, she still technically is. She hasn't like fully retired yet. Well, she can it doesn't matter. Anyways, mom was a nurse. And she used to and like years ago she got me a bunch of doctor's notes. So I've used those in my life. Like I think I've used those in my life so many times. I'll get like my roommate or somebody that like, nobody at work would know their writing or whatever. Like, here, just fill this out for me. And like I've used that for school. I've used those for work. I've used those for so many things. And yeah, I think I actually use those to get to go to a couple cons too during during my Party City days. Is that illegal? Should I be worried about? I don't know what the
Uh,
definition of fraud is, but who
uh,
cares? Party City is a shitty company.
I mean, if you could get audited, but that would really depend on up to what point. But I don't see that being a problem since it must have been back during the Dark Ages anyway.
Come at me, Party City. I'm right here. And to be fair, Party City I think has gone under like 3 different ownership changes since I was doing that shit. Anyway, Valentine's Day. Like, and to be honest, that was another reason I used to like. Part of the reason why I'm very pro any holiday is because when I was at Party City, I used to like holidays lost their meaning. They just became days that the work was heavier.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. And it wasn't in a bad way. It wasn't like I grew to hate Valentine's Day because I had to work a lot. It just that it's just like it's Valentine's Day, you know. I'm gonna have a long, straight, full work shift, and I have to go like see my then girlfriend if I have one at that. Well, I pretty much have my entire time Party City, and then like got to do something there, and it's like, I just want to go home and go to sleep, and not because I hate the holiday, but just because I'm fucking tired from work. I don't know. I never.
Valentine's Day, most people's favorite VD.
It's
I think I
not
meant to say XD, but
No.
still.
Because VD is also
VD?
short for venereal disease, STD.
Oh god,
gosh.
you're talking about that.
It's a
No,
joke
I
because
don't-
Valentine's Day is also
History
VD.
also just mistyped. So that's what I choose to believe.
I like reading. I like watching a lot of like random TikToks where they just read funny tweets or whatever. And there was one of the tweets where it was all like, bro, like it was like first date horror stories, and he was just reading a bunch of tweets like that. And it's like we just finished having sex. I went to the bathroom, and she had herpes medication there, and then the reply was like, "Bro, grab you some." I don't know why, but that made me laugh. I'm like, at that point, it's like, bro, it's like, well, I'm just gonna steal yours because I pay for this shit. Yeah, don't give VD, please. Please don't give VD. Anyways, I don't want to get on that tangent. I actually have some things. I've never had an STD, and I never want to, but I have some funny stories. I'm gonna shut up because I don't want to get into this. Let's move on. Josh, say something else. JD, say something. Save us.
We're talking about Fanime, right?
Yeah, no, I decided to just double check to see if there was any reason why people also hated like what's it called? Valentine's Day, but I wasn't really finding anything outside of like very like anti-capitalistic related stuff. I was thinking I'd probably find a funny article or something like that.
No,
But
it's funny because like I hate that when people talk about like, oh, it's a made-up holiday. Okay, what is your definition of a made-up holiday? Because every single holiday is a made-up holiday. Did you think we like crawled out of the primordial ooze and like a calendar like grew out of a tree and was like, by the way, this Sunday's Easter? No, we made up everything. So like, It's like I don't get why people use that as a reason. It's like, yeah, Valentine's Day was like created. Yeah, Mother's Day was created. Who the fuck cares? Everything was created.
At my old job, I think they always gave one of our coworkers just so much trouble around I couldn't remember if it's Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, or Father's Day, but it's one of those days that people call that. And apparently it's because his grandpa worked in the greeting card industry around the time they were like first spinning up these holidays.
Oh,
So they blame him for what his grandpa did.
your grandpa did this. I mean, honestly, more power to them. I'm not gonna lie. If you ever look up some of those days, like, oh, today's National Pizza Day, and Google that, they're sure, like, you can say, oh, that's Pi Day. They put March 14th or whatever. No. There are literally like 50 National Pizza Days, depending on who the fuck like decided it. And I think it even gets so specific where there's National Pepperoni Pizza Day, National Cheese Pizza Day, and so on. And not just pizza. There's like 30 or 40 National Hamburger Days and Cheeseburger Days. So I agree that maybe don't go that far, but make it where the fuck you want. If it catches on, someone make Fetch Day.
I mean,
Wait, is
I
that just that day
want
in
to
October?
put in there that you're missing a really good example, though, of a made-up holiday.
What's a
You
good
know,
made up holiday?
well, you're going for all the ones that are really easy for people to say are just commercialized. Why not just talk about Christmas? Because it turns out that Christmas is not
Very
even December
controversial.
25th. What happened was Christmas, December 25th, isn't even actually the date that Jesus was born. It was just used as the date that a bunch of people took from a pagan holiday just so that way they could say, we don't want you celebrating your pagan holiday on Jesus's birthday. So a lot of that just kind of got like meshed together, like if you had the weird ass fruit that meshed what's it called, Jotaro Kujo and Josephumi Kasuta, what's it called,
Noriaki Kakyoin?
Kashitaga. Dang it, I mispronounced it, but you know,
Oh,
the what gave us Josephumi Kujo from part 8. It just the two things, the pagan holiday and Jesus' birth, just like merged into one another. And that's what is known as December 25th, which is Christmas. Which, if you really want to talk about a made up holiday, there you go. That is legitimately a made up holiday.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I mean, it is for sure. But like, well, it's funny because you brought that one up. Some people like to bring up Easter, and technically, that one isn't because the thing you celebrate for Easter religiously. Well, obviously Easter the bunny, that's a whole other story. But the religious part to Easter did more or less happen around that time of the year for like other Jewish regions that I'm too stupid to properly explain because
Passover.
Yeah, so it did happen that year. But like, I'm glad you mentioned Christmas and not lumping in Easter. Because some people are like, Christmas, like Easter's made up too. I'm like, no, it's technically not. Like the day shifts, of course. Yeah, I get that. But if we knew the year, we could probably figure it out. But then again, calendars change. By the way, calendars are weird. Like, I remember I was doing a drink talk learn on calendars, and I mainly wanted to correct the thing. Like, have you ever seen that meme, Josh, where it's all like, oh, all the months are numbered wrong, like September, October, and whatever, and it's all like, and it's like, oh, it's because like the Romans added July and August. Julius and Augustus or whatever. No, that's not why. Like, uh, calendars are weird. We used to have like a whole thing at the beginning of the year where like we just didn't count days. We were just winter, and we just like hope you live, and, and we just didn't count a bunch of days. And like, this might be a mildly controversial. Actually, I'm not going to get into that. But the Lunar New Year, the Lunar Year. Sorry, we did get Lunar New Year recently, but the lunar calendar, only got standardized a few decades ago. Like, and every so often when they do this, they realize that whoever wrote the previous calendar fucked up, and so like we lose days. I can't remember which year it happened on the Gregorian calendar, whatever calendar that we use, whatever you call like the sun calendar, the non-lunar one. But yeah, and we're in the middle of leap year, so we're in the middle of like that bullshit. Like, calendars are weird and full of math, and I don't get them. They hurt my brain. JD, are you good with math?
Yes.
Are you really?
I was, at least when in high school and stuff. I was really good at mental math, but it was obviously more of the simpler stuff.
Okay, 2 plus 2 is 4.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, just want to talk about calendars and how where they are. We did have Lunar New Year recently. My hot take is I like to every so often I just call it Chinese New Year and everyone gets upset, and I'm like, I agree that there is a difference in terms to be discussed there, but when everything you discuss is the Chinese trappings, like the lion dances and Chinese, all that stuff, then technically you are celebrating Chinese New Year. Like, at least I am because I'm a China boo. But but anyway, before Manuel over here gets more crazy about China boo-ness, let's move on to Fanime. JD,
Yes.
have you ever staffed a con before?
Yes.
Answer me this, and this is the way I'm going to segue into it because this blows my fucking mind. So when you staff a con, what do you typically do? Do you work a few hours of the day, or what do you do?
Yeah, I'm generally helping out with badge pickup. Sometimes I'm actually sorting badges to make sure they're in the proper order, making sure they have a lanyard, making sure there's a con book in the bag, that kind of stuff. Otherwise,
So,
I'm
okay.
day of, I'm making sure people are properly in line and our line violation or no line violations are being made, that they're lining up the proper times, that kind of stuff. Or just helping them figure out where different things are.
I'm not gonna lie. When you started mentioning the line shit, I'm like, I'm sure I would hate you as a staffer.
Rules are rules, Manuel. I can't have people sitting on stairs.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, you be the one, like, nope, you gotta stand up. No, you gotta go against the wall. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna beat up that guy.
You can sit down. You just can't sit down on the stairs, Manuel. I'm sorry.
Anyway, have you ever? Do they give you a free badge for that?
Yes, but you have to do at least 8 hours of
Exactly. So
volunteer work.
that makes sense. Yeah, of course. But then you get a badge for that, right?
Yes.
You're not expected to still give a full badge. Like, you're not expected to pay for the privilege of working, right?
Yes.
Isn't it wild that Fanime does that?
Wait, what? Really?
Yes. Okay. Apparently, okay. Let's back up. So Fanime is a con that JD hasn't been to. Josh has been there before. I've been there every year since 2014, and I've been there a few years before that. Um, it's a convention that's very, very old school in the way they do things. They don't have many guests, and when they do, it's the way ALA used to be, where they have like one guest for a thing. They have like one music guest, one artist guest. Like maybe they have more now, but usually it would only be like one voice actor guest, and so on. They also used to they were very strict on giving badges for anything. Like AX used to be on a reimbursement system. If you did panels, if you did whatever, you get your money back later. Now that sounds like it makes sense because it's like, oh, they gotta make sure you do the thing, but it actually is a logistical nightmare on the back end because typically you only have like the staffers there during the con, and it's hard to get somebody to do all that shit after the fact. Anyway, I just mentioned that. So they still have a reimbursement system for some things I'm gonna get to in a second, but the staff don't get anything. And apparently this is like a thing from the old days, like when you would just pay to help run the convention, and you would help run the convention. Because like AX started in NorCal, right? It started in San Jose, then it moved to Oakland, and then it moved to LA. And apparently that first year it moved to LA was the first time they had a Fanime, and it was by some of the NorCal staffers who didn't like the move. So it was the first AX Rebel Con. But somehow all these old school things still lasted today. So can you imagine, JD, working several 8-hour shifts? And not like it's optional. They give you a schedule, you have to do it, or you're like kicked off of staff or whatever. But you're paying for it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, but I've never worked at anything bigger than TorahCon, so.
That's wild to me. But yeah, that's one of the biggest grievances. And like, it's weird. Did you know this, Josh, by the way?
Fanime is going down with a hard reset, is what Katsu says.
Yes.
What I know about Anime Expo in terms of, and Katsu can actually fill in all the voids for anything that I miss in terms of staffing. I want to say somewhere around the circa of 2011, at least, when going towards 2014. The case was normally that if you worked for Anime Expo, you would be provided a badge, you would be provided a room, um, you be you would be provided food as well as some snacks. You would have time to not deal with, but go and explore the con so long as it is outside of the more or less 8-hour time frame that you have when you're actually working. But a lot of people said that like it would be very like stressful. It'd be the type of thing where you don't really leave your post. When you do actually leave, chances are you're probably just gonna like sleep in your room because might as well
Yeah.
get sleep. Some people would be up late because not everyone's schedules are specifically day. After all, there's all the night events as well. So it was a lot of stuff going on. And at least that was the time of that. And by comparison to Fanime, same time, give or take, 2011, 2014, you were still seen with the, you get a badge for the time that you are working, or volunteering. Of course, the volunteer times would not be nearly as stressful or strict as Anime Expo, from my knowledge. So chances are you were more likely to actually enjoy different parts of the con. I don't know if rooms were provided or not to the staff slash volunteers versus those at the very top.
Well,
But
that's the
most
thing. Like there actually is a difference between staff and volunteers. I'm gonna get into it later. So that's actually an interesting point you mentioned. But keep going.
Yeah. Oh, and over here, Katsu saying, I've staffed for a range of cons in several different departments for a number of years. Registration, line control, guests, video games, etc. I don't know if they still do it, but AX also
Oh
gave you
shit!
a extra badge to give to a friend.
Wait, if you're an AX staffer, come talk to us. Okay. Anyways, keep going.
um, but yeah, no. I know that they all run as nonprofits, but in terms of how everything does require more manpower, I do believe certain cons start to actually put out money for both the panelists as well as guests, but I don't know the levels of degree for, say, the staffers, like the main staff people that are part of, like, let's say, is it the SPJA over in LA, or the group that normally handles Fanime?
No, Fanime is run by Fanime. I think is okay. First of all, SPGA. We have a whole. We actually touched on it briefly about like their nonprofit status. Thankfully, I
Mhm.
do think Fanime is still mostly nonprofit. I googled it right now just to make sure. I'm sure they have some like corporation involved. Not every con is though, for the record. So that's worth mentioning. Like, don't assume they all are, but I think Fanime still might be. I was gonna say they weren't, but I looked it up right now. Which thankfully goes to their for fans by fans nonsense. But apparently, um, okay, let me paint a picture for you because this is how I found out about this. Years
Okay.
ago, when I first went to Fanime, my very first year, and we were gonna do an idol panel there. I met Molly. I met Molly at that. I met her personally beforehand, but that was the first time me and Molly ever con together.
Mhm.
So we did a panel together. It was an idol panel. I didn't know this yet, but I met a lot of other idol performers there. People went to the panel, and like I met Tiffany there. I met like Heidi there. I met like all the people that I would do panels with for the next few years. And every Fanime, all these girls, and eventually Molly too, were in the maid cafe. And they could never really do panels unless they were on certain days after a certain time. And it was always a hassle.
Mhm.
Then one day I found out because one day Tiffany was complaining about how tough it was. She had to do all these meetings. She was even like towards the top of like, the staffing ladder. None of them got badges or hotel rooms.
Really?
Yes, and if you've ever been to Fanime, they have a really big, popular maid cafe. Whereas in you work some insane shifts. I think they're even working more than 8 hours. I mean, like mildly illegal, but I don't know if it technically counts because you're not working. So you would just be there. Like sometimes these girls would be there all fucking day.
Oh
They would
shit.
be at the maid cafe. They'd wake up, go to the maid cafe, go perform on stage, go back to the maid cafe, do their shifts, then come back then like be done like at 6 or 7 when the cafe closes, basically.
Mhm.
And it'd be like, what the fuck? And part of me got that because some of these girls just liked being maids, I guess.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I guess I get it that they're just like, but you're still paying to be a maid. And it was like, what the fuck? And then when I was complaining about this to some of my friends who I was all like to Snacks and a few others, and I'm like, man, it's so wild that like that they still keep doing Maid Cafe. It's like, oh well, I don't get a free badge either. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but like you're doing the dance or whatever, and it's like, yeah, like I just do that because I like to, and it just sounds very exploitative. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yes.
Like they legit just find people who are willing to do it. Not okay, you're not even doing it for free because doing it for free is getting a free badge. That's the bare minimum is doing it for free, getting a spare badge, maybe a hotel. But like, it's what the fuck? And then like, I come to find out from other people that like, to some degree, if you volunteer, which is different than staffing, usually that happens when you're like closer to the con, sometimes at the con. If you go there, go to the office, like, hey, I want to volunteer and get my badge recomped, then you get your badge comped after the fact. So sometimes there was I remember there were some staffers, like some staffer friends of mine around 2016, 2017 who were like, well, I'm not going to do staff next year. I'm going to just volunteer so I get my badge. And I'm like, what kind of weird system is that? And I'm gonna stop this rant in a minute. But like when the pandemic ended and well, technically didn't end till after it came back. But when the pandemic was ending and Fanime came back, I'll never forget that Callie was so excited because she had a panel in 2022. She's like, oh, thank God, Fanime Maid Cafe wasn't giving me a free badge. And the next year, last year, was the first year that Maid Cafe ever got free staff badges. Last
Wow.
year.
Wow.
Only because I found out because like Molly and Tiffany and everyone. And Tiffany has been in Maid Cafe for like 10 plus years. And it's like, what the fuck? But I'm gonna read this thing. Granted, I haven't staffed in years. There's a step friend down. They would give us hotel rooms. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So apparently, and I talked to some staffer. I'll get to that point in a second. When I was reading some, I messaged some staffer friends of mine at Fanime to ask, like, what are the demands that these people are asking? Because a lot of staff quit. They're like, we want to make some demands, and like, I might be letting the cat out of the bag here because they haven't actually said anything officially yet. I was hoping they would before we did the podcast. But it was simple ass shit. Like we want a badge, maybe hotel. We want perks. We want the normal perks. And apparently they don't even feed them. Which is funny because okay, I think there's definitely something going on with Fanime because there's favorites being picked. Like why like obviously May Cafe got something last year, but whenever I go to registration there's always like snacks and food there, and I don't know if it's for us panelists or just for the staffers, but I eat that shit. And I'm like, wait, not everyone gets that? And apparently they don't. And it just like I don't get it. But yeah, from what word on the street is gaming, pretty much everything related to cosplay, like the cosplay gathering, the cosplay repair, and all the 18 plus stuff, like the Silver Island and the Stage of the Stars, are all empty right now because all the staff have quit.
Damn.
Yeah. Mind you, like still like if you want to be that person, yeah, the con can still happen because even if we have no cosplay activities, the key departments still have staff. But it's yeah. Fanime, more like Fanime for
Famine.
oh famine for yeah, they don't eat. No one eats. What is this? Oh, you even got you got a hotel room?
Yeah, but it would be like it's not like a big hotel room, but it'd be like 2 beds at some like Hilton DoubleTree or whatever.
I mean, that's still like that's still something. And like,
Yeah.
I just find that there have been times when we've been guest at cons, like doing panels, and they've given us hotel. I don't get the badge thing, and like I don't say this because I'm gonna like I'm scared to say because like what, and I'm scared to even post about this because I'm like, what if I say this and then Fanime is like, yeah, we're not giving you a badge this year. I've never given Fanime a dime because when you apply for press at Fanime or industry, you get a free badge. They just give you a free badge.
Really?
Yes. If I go as a panelist, I have to buy my badge and then get it refunded later. And I only know
that. So dumb.
Yeah, and I only know this because I've given those away to people because I'm allowed to. It's like I do like however many panels I can give all these vouchers to people. They're very hit or miss if they give you your money back. And like
Good.
if you go to the Fanime thing, there's tons of comments where it's like volunteers are like they never refunded my badge. Uh, people like I never got comped or whatever, and it's like I know from personal experience that they just seem to be all like, "Ah, well, we can't afford the last 100 people on this list. Let's just not refund them." It's
Yeah,
wild.
it's fucked. That's
It's the
fucked.
wild west. I don't understand like how Fanime still okay. I love Fanime. I want to go to Fanime. I'm gonna keep going to Fanime, but I don't understand how it still exists if it's run like this.
I just think that it survives based on it being a party atmosphere in a relatively nice area over in the Bay with good weather, some very scenic spots for pictures, some pretty good perks still for at least the attendees. But genuinely, in terms of what it's being managed as, that's the only part where the cracks are starting to show. And genuinely, they'd have to change something, especially because there are so many people, especially now with how the internet has exploded. Everybody can talk to each other. Everybody knows how one event is held over another. There are, and like it's like there was this post that was from a cosplayer. I want to say that they had, like, for example, less of a following than even I do, and they were able to all under the radar of a event that wasn't too big, but they paid to have her flown out, gave her a room, a badge, and they were just a cosplay guest. And I like simply was just because they were like, okay, cool. Like it's probably one of those accounts where the reach isn't that high, but they were probably noted for like their craftsmanship or seamstress skills. But even so, it was just meant to tell people like, hey, don't be out here like going to events for free or going to just things that like won't necessarily like treat or respect you in a particular way. I would like to say that is really cool. I don't know how many events necessarily do that, but it's stories like this where it's just technically like, even if you had to compare like the Fanime even to Anime Expo, it's like, why would you be doing this? Especially because this is a really big traffic area. You have some people coming from like Nevada, some other people who go to that one probably the same way that they go to ALA, because it's like, yo, this is like a really big, really interesting event. I don't know if ALA has passed it or not, but I mean, Fanime for the longest time has been known as the second biggest con in California.
Yeah. It's actually funny. Like, Fanime used to be. I think it's dropped since then. It used to be the second biggest con in the country. I think at one point, but like, it didn't want to get counted in those numbers because it used to have that Clockwork Alchemy. The steampunk con used to happen too,
Yeah.
and because it was two cons, they wouldn't count it. And I guess that's fair because who knows, maybe like 2,000-3,000 people were there just for the fucking steampunk shit. Because there definitely was. Um, but yeah, like, I think it's just like boomer management. And it's funny because I don't really know who runs like at the top of Fanime. I'm like, who does run it? Usually, and it's funny because especially on a staffer, like on a staffer friend level, you kind of know who runs some of these departments. It's the same people, but I don't think it is for Fanime. Fanime kind of seems to have like its old guard in the very, very top, and they only do Fanime or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
it also has a bit of a stranglehold because it's like, as of now, it's the only like NorCal convention that does anime, like period. Um, like you have all these other like Comic Con type events or like like the San Francisco Fan Expo and this Galaxy Con, um, and like, but those aren't anime. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So Fanime is the only one, and I think they kind of like they're just like, and like Katu said, people are still gonna go, and I'll be real with you, I'm still gonna go. Like I don't want to make it sound like I'm gonna like unless some heinous shit comes out, I'm not gonna boycott Fanime. um, so yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I'm over here like everyone boycott, but they really should. Like, okay, You know how you mentioned how that con flew out
You don't care either, lol, JK.
I do care. Okay, I care about the staff. I think. Okay, I'm actually gonna circle back because I realize I sound really insensitive there. Okay, giving a badge and even a hotel room too, is like the bare fucking minimum. I don't get why the con. Like, what are they doing with the money they're getting? And I get it. Okay, and I'm already going to point this out because Fanime, if they ever respond to it, we're going to say this too. Fanime is the last con I know of their size that doesn't charge for concerts and doesn't still has a relatively lowish ticket price for all of its days. And what the fuck was the other one? It was another one I had. Oh shit, I forgot what it was. There's a third one, but they don't charge for concerts or events. That's the one I can remember off the top of my head. No con does that anymore. Every con charges for that, and their ticket price is still like usually well under $100. Like it's cheaper than ALA, even though it's like far bigger. So they do have that going for them, and I guess they're not. So I guess just by that alone, they're not going to have as much of a bank to like pull from. But they also still have tens of thousands of, well over 10,000 attendees. Not sure what their post-pandemic numbers are, but they have well over 10,000 attendees. Surely there's enough money. Not even money. Surely you could just give out badges. I don't get what they're doing at that point. Like, that's the bare minimum, and it's wild that they keep saying that. Also, I will point out that Fanime weirdly, and I don't want to sound like an I don't want to sound like a COVID denier by saying this. Fanime also still has some very draconian COVID rules in place. I don't know if you knew about that, Josh. It's the only con I know that still has a mask mandate.
I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not either. What I do think is a little weird, is that the staff, and part of me agrees with this, and I don't want to make it sound like I don't see how it's a good policy. But I want to bring this up because this is going to be the obvious counter that if they ever bring it up, that some of the staff were forced to leave because of this. They have what's the word I'm looking for? They have a vaccine mandate for their staffers, and there's one guy who was working the cosplay repair department who quit recently, and they made a post about it, and they had to leave because of the vaccine reason. And they were posting about like how they can't get it because they just like got over cancer and they have like all these like heavy meds and they can't take the vaccine. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I still think medical exemptions that should be fine. But no, he couldn't staff anymore. And I should also point out that nobody left because of the mask mandate. I just wanted to preface with that. Like, it's not like these non-vaccine people are like, yeah, I'm not going to wear a mask either. It's just like, they're still here. Yeah. They survived these years. Huh?
I'm just going to tell you, cut it here just in case, or cut it as soon as you're done with this, just in case we get demonetized or pushed down for this on the VOD.
But I just wanted to point that out because that is a point for some of the staffing issues. Mm-hmm. I do find it weird, and I do find it very crazy. I don't mind the mask thing. I wore masks most of ALA, and I probably would have wore it the whole time if I wasn't like just lazy half the time. Mm-hmm. I see nothing wrong with that. I do think it's weird in 2024 to have a mask mandate at an event. And you know what's also weird? There's no security at ALA. I mean ALA at Fanime. Isn't that wild? I love it for that. I know that makes it sound sus too. Like, I fucking can't stand airport type security at events. But yeah. So, anyways, back to my original point. Sorry for me getting anti-vaxxer. I wear a mask on the podcast.
No, she because Manuel doesn't want to shave.
Yeah. Fun fact. This is a really short fun fact. I started wearing this because when the first podcast for A to J started, it was called A to J Talks. When that podcast first started, we all had this idea to like make it very unique, where we all have like personas and like things we wear all the time, like the way the angry video game nerd always has like his shirt and his pocket protector. You know what I'm trying to say? Like shit like that. And like I can't think of any other top of my head, but like a thing. And my thing, because I had just found this. Again, it's just like a little bandana that folds in half, and I'm like, I'm gonna wear this all the time. And it got so obnoxious to have it up all the time. I should just wear it around my neck. and now I put it up all the time. But yeah, anyways, that's the story behind that. I just thought it'd be a funny little call thingy. But then like during like some of the protests, I think people were wearing this shit like on the not good side of the protest, like during the pandemic. And I'm like, oh, now I just sound like one of them 5 minutes ago, didn't I?
Yeah.
Anyways, no, get vaccinated, do all that. I just think I just think it's weird in 2024 to like push that to the degree people like, are not, that you're getting rid of staffers. I don't know.
Like I can agree with you a bit, at least for the medical exceptions for those who are immunocompromised, because they can't get them, and that's the reason we should be getting, or those who can should be getting vaccinated, just so that they don't have to worry.
So yeah, but going back to my original point that I don't even know how I got this far away from it, is that I don't get why they can't give hotels and badges. When we were guests at PMX, a much smaller con than anything we're discussing. We're talking a con that I think numbered its guests in the hundreds. We got a hotel and badges. They actually gave us an obscene amount of badges, which is funny because like, I'm cons are weird about giving any group more than 4-ish, and I'm like, we need 8, and they're like, do you really need 8? I'm like, we're doing 6 panels, and it's not all the same people on all the panels. We need 8. That's just for the panels. I'm not even bringing in friends. But they gave us the 8. They gave us 8 badges, and a hotel room. When we've paneled for ALA a couple times, they gave us hotel rooms. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to like. They've given us tons of badges at ALA. Most conventions will give you 2 to 4 badges per panel. And if you've ever noticed, A to J usually does like 3 or 4 panels. Mind you, we don't like have individual things, like it'll be my name across all of them and a few others across all of them. But in theory, there are some cons where we could be getting 16, 12 badges. And Fanime's over here like, it's not costing you anything. Why are they not doing it? It reminds me of that whole concept, like when game companies are all like, we lost billions to piracy. And I'm like, money not given to you is not lost money. And I know you're like, Manuel, listen to yourself, but no, it isn't. Do you get what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just, and anyways, half of this shit is like, is technically they want to reimburse it. I'm like, that's just gonna be a hassle. I don't know. Are you gonna go to Fanime, Josh? You need to go to Fanime.
Give me a badge. Or I don't know, maybe I'll apply for the what's it called? I'll apply for the press thing if
I
that's
will
so
say,
easy because I didn't get a badge, and which also translates to I didn't get a room because
don't
most
staff
of the
for it.
time don't staff for it. No, he's saying staff for it. Agreed. Like we were just talking about why we wouldn't staff. It literally just sounds like the better option would be to just go to press or join your group and see if like that goes down. Because like I said, the other thing is I don't have a room because I already know that the room
Oh
wars
yeah,
already happened. And the way that even worked, unless they changed it, was
you have to
they
register
based off.
first.
Yeah, but like depending on when you got your badge, because they actually have a record of the people when they were getting their badges when it became available. So they would be able to tell, like, okay, give us your number, and it'll tell you which wave you're a part of.
Yep.
So certain people are part of the first wave. They can go and get their hotels with a few available, not the entirety of them. You could only get one room corresponding to your badge number, and then later they would have separate waves just to keep both the website from crashing, like Anime Expos did again this year, and also to limit the amount of people who would just like spam by. They did add the option now where you need to present an actual like receipt number from when you purchased your Anime Expo badge. So they
Mhm.
did add that, but it's still not the Fanime way of approaching things. It was still be anxiety inducing, but that's just because now you're worried about, am I part of first wave? If I'm not part of that wave, is my hotel still going to be available with the rooms that I want when I want to what's it called, apply. See what I do, I'm reading Katsu. See what I do or did before I slowed down at cons was work exhibit booths like Aniplex. Not only I get a free badge, but I worked 4 to 5 hours a day, and I got paid freebies for the time. Now that was nice. But like, yeah, no, because you would like cosplay. I guess I know that you did that with also the Arc System Works booth the one time. So like,
What?
and that's there's normally a different group that you go to. I think it's like Cosplay Paradise or something like that. I forget. Like it would be a group that would actually help with having you booth somewhere. And yeah, no, the amount of time that you would do per day wouldn't be as bad. But I didn't know the extra part about like the freebies or paid stuff.
Uh,
Kotobukiya?
I think it's a bookstore. Um,
Oh, okay, that one, yeah.
like it's a booth. It's a booth, but I think it's like I think it's like a book booth, right? I don't know, or it's just
Figures.
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 But they have the book as the style kind of for their
Kotobukiya.
Manuel, save it. Keep talking about this or pick a new topic.
I'm looking at Kotobukiya. Anyways, I love Fanime. I just wish Fanime wasn't doing this. But it's funny because I've noticed this shit from day one. Like, it's the only con. It's okay, it's consistently been the only con that doesn't just give you badges for panels. That's how stingy they are. I mean, I'm always like, even back in the day, like, mind you, I always did press. But there have been other panelist people who've been with me who like I've had Garway on panels, I've had Rachel on panels, I've had Nyar on panels, and it's always been a hassle. Like, oh, you have to buy your badge first. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you have to buy it like a normal person, then we'll figure it out later. And then obviously, like I already mentioned, someone that never got it, and even in my own head, and that's one of the reasons why I'd always make sure my friends always would fill out that form. And I'm like, even on my end, I'm doing hours of actual work. And obviously you might debate like how much work Manuel does, because like I've shown up drunk to many a panel. But I put on the panel, I have people there, people show up to them. There was tons, usually dozens of unseen hours of work to make that panel. And they don't want to give me a badge for it? Like no other con does that. None. And to find out that's the same way it is for staffers, I don't know. I just find it funny that like this is all happening, and part of me wonders if like actually part of me doesn't wonder. Part of me knows that. I mean, I know for a fact that not every department in Fanime is like this. There's some favoritism going on, but it's just wild. Fanime will keep going. I'm sure it'll be fine. It just, I don't know. Am I a monster by going? I don't care. I'm going. I'm just kidding. Cancel
You're
me,
making
JD.
it seem like supporting Fanime is the equivalent of supporting Israel striking on Gaza.
Oh my God, JD.
You had to go there. Okay.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. You made whatever I said sound like nothing. So okay, let's just move on. But man, do I have some shit to say about that too? But I'm not going to because not because I don't think it's worth not discussing.
I'm
just don't
just
think
saying, you like. I don't think
this is the
going is
place.
like not like. I don't think like there's really a statement to going or not going. I think genuinely just Fanmei
Well,
has
it
probably a
depends on
lot
what
of old
because
policies that.
yeah. Sorry, I keep interrupting each other. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like it just feels like I guess they have some policies that are worth updating, as well as probably just clarifying what they probably want from their staffers. And genuinely, it does suck that there are some older staffers that aren't returning because they're already fed up with how they've been handling things. And clearly, if you even have to compare it to other events that are in California, they could be doing so much better. So it hurts both the people who like to do panels for it. It hurts the people who are working it, and that sucks because it's genuinely a really fun event at a really good time of the year. That I always have good like memories about Fanmei. I think the only things that made them even close to bad would be sometimes so there were like some uh every now and then I come across certain people that like are just kind of like meh, you know.
Oh,
um you know how there's sometimes different vibes between NorCal, SoCal type of people. um and that's like the only time where sometimes it's off, but it's never something where it's like, oh, I had an absolutely terrible time here. It's not like I'm gonna turn around and go out to like blog about how like I love hate something like AX. AX is like a love hate relationship. It's like the lines are fucking terrible. The amount of people that are going there have led to have changes done to deal with that crowd management to the point where sometimes I lose out hours out of the first day on a consecutive note. On Fanime, they probably do that once every now and then. Otherwise, registration is a breeze. It's really cool to check out the concerts that they have there. The swap meets are dope. I find so much cool stuff. I always feel like it's really well managed for it, as well as then checking out like all the additional things that are going on. Gatherings are always on point. Like plenty of really good stuff. If I had to pick out something negative about it, it would be more anecdotal to my experiences between the people that I like hang out with and learn later. It's like, oh, that kind of thing. But it's never the event itself that has ever been bad. But this literally looks like the type of thing that could like really leave a bad taste in people's mouths, as it already is, as much as it's already like, from your end as working as a panelist, I mean, it's like stuff needs to change is what it sounds like.
It's sad because even though, don't get me wrong, and I want to like we'll move the topic on in a second, but what I do want to point out is that I do wish the staffers were treated better. I do wish all this stuff was done better. I do wish people would just be like, yeah, we'll share the wealth. Once again, I don't know what the fuck, why they're not. It's not even sharing the wealth. It's just giving them free stuff, and not even free, just like giving them the perks they should be getting for the job that they're doing.
Properly compensating them for their work.
There you go. That's the word. That's the properly compensated. But the problem with all this is that unless like this somehow goes mad viral, which I don't think it ever will, and even then, it like when you have a con that brings in over 10,000 people, it used to bring in over 20, which I don't know if it still does, but it brings in lots of people. Only a few hundred are ever going to hear about this. Like, you know what I mean? Even that Facebook group, it's not an official group. That group has like 1,000 members, and like, sure, there's dozens of people who are talking about like, oh, I don't know if I should go, but for each one of those dozens, there's like hundreds that are just like either never going to hear or honestly just don't care. They're just like, man, sucks for them, but I'm going to have fun. And I get it. There are times when like Mr. Manuel goes to 1 million cons a year or tries to. I don't really understand that thing when you only go to one a year. And to some people, this is their one thing a year. So it's like, yeah.
Well,
I get it.
Again, it's the Bay Area. You only have set things like Crunchyroll was supposed to be the other event that they
I'm
would have.
sad that's gone.
Back,
I went the first 2 years and never went back, and now I hate it. I mean, I hate that it's
Back-
gone. Not that I love the con, but yeah.
yeah, no, SAC Anime is the only other one that's been growing that's pretty well for North Cal, but that one is just, over in Sacramento, and it's like still trying to be relatively big, and yet at the same time still around the same size. But they have great guest lists that like attend that
Are
con.
you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because
What do you mean by am I sure about that? I feel like there's a story here that I'm about to trigger, but I remember because I did
yeah, because they're the con that keeps
press.
I mean, like, I think they've kind of stopped. But they're one of the cons that kept inviting Vic after the Vic nonsense.
Oh, you're talking about that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, at least
So I don't know
the
about
years
that.
where I was doing the what's it called? Where I was doing press, he wasn't there. But I do get where
Yeah,
you're coming from. It's still held by the same guy. Is
exactly.
the same
I
owner.
don't think he's not there because they're not inviting him anymore. I think he's just not there. If he's not there at a con for whatever, it's because his schedule doesn't allow it. But like, I remember Back Anime, and by the way, as you could probably tell by the name, Back it's Bakersfield Anime. It's done by
Yeah.
SAC Anime. Oh, you're in the area. Well, like that
Yeah.
was one of the first cons that like publicly kept Vic on during like that was making a point to keep him on during the whole when cons were canceled
Well,
and left and right.
they had him literally there a month after the article went out.
Yeah.
And then they brought him back in
Yes.
2021, I want to say. If it wasn't
Back
2021, they brought him back in 2022. But like, yeah, no, that was the thing that happened because at the same time, the guy who held the events, he also threw Vic under the bus on Facebook. So it feels a little weird that he would do that, but apparently they're still friends. Vic apparently said that he would just be there for free, so anything that he made was just simply from boofing. And
It's funny. It's funny
yeah, no,
because I don't want to I don't ever want to say anything in Vic's favor. But one of the things that like reminded me because like I was talking to a friend about this as a joke like like a week ago I was having the rant about like paying for autographs was
Yeah.
that for the longest time, don't get me wrong, Vic has definitely started since all of his shit blew up. So I'm not saying this is still the case. It is not. But for the longest time, Vic was against charging for autographs. And don't get me wrong, that was an ego boost because like he would always have the longest lines and he would just stay there and sign for people forever for free. But I remember like I was pointing out that thing. It's like, Vic used to always sign for free, and he would not let the staff kick him out. And like, first of all, that's why staff didn't like him. But second of all, like, it's like, who wants Vic's autograph? That's like if I just sat there and like, I'll sign for free. Anyways, that was me jokingly not really keeping on being nice to Vic.
Yeah, no, it's no, I genuinely disagree. It's like really weird in how ownership deals with some things, but at the same time, at least from some of the local people, because a lot of Fresno peeps, as well as like because like one of the Fresno peeps was one of the peeps that allowed me to be there as press. They have a lot of people that normally do staffing and stuff there that also sell stuff. We have exhibit hall, artist alley, and genuinely, it sounds like they're really good to the people that they try to have like actually work the event for them. Uh, whether or not their guest list is a different thing to like really come under contention about, but it really just affects that what one staff does over another staff. Because I'm going to tell you the other part about the difference between Bach and Sac is that Bach staff is not as good as Sacramento staff when it comes to organizing.
Oh my
It's
god,
a
that's
good
terrible then.
no,
Because
it's a night and day difference. I wish I could say
no,
just come
no, I
down to
mean,
check out.
you mean Back's the good one?
No, Bach anime is not good. I'm trying to
Oh,
say
then they're
that.
both
What
terrible because I was gonna say the only bad staff experience I've ever had at a convention was Sac Anime.
what happened with Sac anime in what year?
2018. It was the one year I went twice. I went because, by the way, for those who don't know, Sac Anime is like the Walmart of anime conventions in California. In that they run, well, I don't know if they all still run, but they used to run a handful in Bakersfield, and they would run like literally, I'm not exaggerating, like I think 12 cons in Sacramento. And like I think they have two back animes, they have two two Sac animes and two Sacramento Comic Con. I forgot what the fuck they're called, but they're also like related, and they have like six or so that just are totally different names run by the same company. Um,
Or
so like
rather the same person, because
yeah.
like in Bakersfield we have the small Disney convention,
Oh, Anime Impulse is the
the
fucking. Don't get me started, Anime
small anime
Impulse.
convention, and then there's the Comic Con convention. So those are the three that are run here in Bakersfield. They're all by the same guy who also does the two
Is
Sac
it
anime
Rick?
ones still.
Is it
What?
Rick, the Asian guy? Rick, I can't pronounce his last name. I think
No,
it's like
it's
Fung or something like that. I think it's pronounced that way,
no,
but but
no. That guy does Rick does Fresno. The person who does the Bakersfield
oh,
events
okay.
and also does SAC. His name is
For the record,
Wyatt. Steve Wyatt.
I think Rick's a pretty. I mean, like his heart's in the right place. I think he's bad at organizing, but he was nice at the few times we were guests at a couple of his cons.
Mhm.
He gave us a hotel and everything. But yeah, we were guests at some of his cons. Tiffany was a guest to like perform. We were guests doing panels, and A to G was like the press guest. But yeah, they even gave. I remember they gave us two booths, and I'm like, we barely need one. I've told this story before. We're like, we barely need one. Why'd they give us two?
Yeah, they did the same thing when I went with a group to that one. Also, we were
Yeah,
just like, yeah, let's do it, and we got like two booths as well.
yeah, exactly. Like, I remember I gave one to a friend of mine who had like a fashion line at the time. Like, here, you could just have this one, and it was listed as A to J. But when you got there, she was just selling her like her handmade clothes or whatever. Just like yeah, just like and there are other trinkets. And I was like, yeah, and, like we don't, we bear. And the other one was just us handing out flyers and whatever. But anyway, yeah, I love that. I love that guy's cons. But Sac Anime was a terrible con because everything was just bad about it. It was all disorganized. I remember like the power died in our room for the panel. And this isn't a bad story, but it was really funny. The panel died the power died in our room, and we didn't know what to do. Like I don't know if the power didn't go out the whole con. I don't know if it's like a fuse blew or something. And we're sitting there in the dark, and there's no staff for the room. We never found staff in that room. We just started setting up and turning on lights and turning on the fucking projector ourselves or whatever. That's happened before, but there was no staff there. And I was just telling there was people still sitting watching the panel. I'm like, guys, I think we're done because the power is gone. No one left. Like, I don't know if they don't care the power is on and they want to keep hearing us talk about idols, or if they just have nowhere to go. So we just kept trying to do the panel, and then after like it was a 90-minute panel, the power went out 45 minutes. We talked for another 10, 15 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, guys, we're gonna leave, and then we just left, and people were still sitting.
It says here, no, that is Anime Impulse now. That's when you get a flashlight and do shadow puppets.
Oh, you're combining two that weren't like
Oh, yeah,
successive.
the impulse. She was saying that. Oh, she was saying. Katsu was saying that was what. That was what. By the way, I was calling you a she, JT. I don't know why, but like, just to be clear. But
Yeah.
like, the Anime Impulse is the Walmart. By the way, Anime Impulse, I don't consider that a con. I've had that rant before because they don't have actual programming in the traditional sense. And I feel like, and not just as a panelist, but I feel like all the extra shit is what makes it a con. Because at that point, you're just a fucking a glorified exhibit hall. Also, Anime Impulse, the main one, happens with like 5 other cons, including a sneaker convention. And maybe it sounds a little gatekeepy, but if like if half your con is a sneaker convention, I don't consider you an anime con. Like,
I think it's just really tough to have like I
and I
mean
don't mean it happens with it. I mean like they're together.
no, what I was gonna say was seeing what you're talking about in terms of availability to then the cons and how they handle things. It is genuinely tough that Fanime is like the only real con in the North Cal area that is as popular as it is, but is still dealing with some issues that it just needs to catch up in terms of comparison to other cons, whether or not they're big or also growing. And like that does kind of suck. At the same time, it's also asking a lot for anybody to like travel X amount of time outside of a particular area just to say to go to like a con that's got shit together like ALA or Anime NYC or like the one that's gonna go on in Ikatsucon over in like DC, I think. Or even like what's it called? SakuraCon over in Seattle. Like, genuinely, it does it does technically suck because it's like, yo, this con's really cool, and we just hope that you could like genuinely like update because you're gonna be losing all of your staffers right now, and there's so many other like experiences that people can like like enjoy versus this. You don't want what happened to Crunchyroll Expo to happen when would happen to Fanime.
Well, one of these days we'll have a whole Crunchy rant, but I don't think that's what happened. I think Crunchyroll just there's reasons about that con that I'll get into one day when we do our Crunchy takedown. The Crunchy will never give us a free account again. But but no, AOD. I mentioned that earlier. That was a Valentine's Day con that I went to a lot. That was half gaming, but it was called Animation on Demand. One of my favorite bands of all time, Japanese band. I mean, I say Cycle Lashem. They had their US debut at that convention, AOD, in 2004. Like I was too young to have gone to that when I saw them when they were down here at PMX. But like, yeah, shit like that. And then Kraken Con, that was in Oakland. I used to go to that one all the time. That was also a 2-time con, as in like it happened at the fall and the spring or whatever. What else was there? There were a ton of other NorCal cons. They've all Silicon Valley Comic Con. That was the one that guy from MythBusters used to run. And shit like that. I'm like, all these cons are gone now, and I don't know. Fanime's the last one standing, and at this rate, oh, there was also that fucking. There was like shit like J-pop summit, like all these events that happened in San Francisco. I don't know. Like NorCal is a dying scene, and I hope Fanime doesn't kill itself. Please don't. But yeah, we're never gonna leave this topic. I'm like, we should leave the topic. I wanted to talk about like other shit, but like the thing's almost done. JD, give us a quick topic to talk about for the
Most
last like
just
10
can't
minutes.
afford out of state cons. Have you ever been to out of state cons? And then it will. So I feel like the first two already got like addressed, but the it will. I wonder what that one is in regards to, because I hope it doesn't regard to like anime self imploding.
Well, JD, Mr. Money over here, JD always goes to his New York. I'm just kidding about the Mr. Money thing, but he goes to his New York
Anime
cons.
will blow itself up. Oh my gosh.
I mean, every con kind of does eventually. Even like I keep saying how SoCal, how NorCal's dying, but SoCal had tons of conventions too that have gone. There's been Anime Kanji, Anime
To be fair,
California.
to be fair, some of those had very ill-advised plans for going forward. Anime Kanji, rest in peace. But like,
Yeah.
no one will ever contest the both brilliance and also stupidity that was AM2.
Oh, well, that yeah. I have stories about that con too. Yeah, like, anyways,
Oh,
but
not to
yeah,
mention California Con. Remember how California Con was constantly like, "Hey, you know where we should perfectly wedge ourselves in when PMX and SAC Anime are happening at the exact same weekend. Let's get up in that."
San Diego has two good cons right now. I want to plug them because some of the homies run them. They have San Diego Anime Con, was just finished 3-4 months ago. We were there. Josh was there.
That was fun. That was fun.
It had a really good first year. It wasn't run. I mean, like, they sold out because the venue is kind of small. So maybe that almost like there's a market for cons there, and they're also doing Hentai Matsuri at that same exact hotel. They were supposed to do it at the Sheraton across the street, but I booked the hotel yesterday and I noticed that they're at the Handlery. So there's two San Diego cons. Hopefully they last more than a year. Well, I know San Diego already booked this next year, so it's happening again. Hopefully Hentai Matsuri keeps going too. Because there has not been an 18 plus con in California that has lasted. Well, I guess Yaoi Con, but there hasn't been another one that's lasted more than 1 year.
Damn, Yaoi
Yep.
Con. I like how they brought up the Ontario ALA just because Ontario then became a really popular spot for a bunch of other cons to kind of start up. I think the only one that's still going there, at least consecutively, is I think it's called like Revolution or
Comic-Con
something.
Revolution. I submitted
Yeah.
panels to that one just because I was like, I'm willing to go out there for a panel a day. But it's funny because from what I understand on the street, word on the street is that um, ALA was there and they were there like in two consecutive like contract periods because they were given like a mad sugar deal that first time. Um,
Yeah.
because like nothing happened in Ontario. Like nothing happens there, especially that area of Ontario. There's like a bunch of hotels that only service the airport. How the fuck that airport's a small airport? How the fuck does it have like 15 hotels servicing it? Like, and I'm not exaggerating. There's like 15 hotels in that little circle. Anyway, but now it's kind of apparently it's pretty expensive now because I've heard other cons like some friends of mine who used to run the SoCal Retro Gaming Expo that like they like doubled their price from 1 year to the next.
No, that
Um,
was to make up for all the damage caused by ALA.
oh my
5 years
god,
of destruction, stress on the 911 system, as well
dude!
as everlasting pandemonium, emotional scars, insurance companies having to deal with that BS,
ALA will never do that again. No,
the
nobody.
Riverside Police Department having to deal with the problem outside of their jurisdiction.
Okay, I'm only saying this because I don't think he's no longer part of like he's not off the board because of this. But I used to staff for PMX back in the day, so I was in a lot of staff meetings for ALA when they were doing the move to Ontario because it was around it was that first year, and they had rented and they did this for like 3 years in a row until like the hotel finally closed down. They rented out the entire Radisson, like that hotel was booked for the con. Nothing could happen there that wasn't con related. Like, I guess technically you could be a normie who books through ALA's website, but if you called the hotel, they were booked that weekend. Nobody from outside can get there. And the reason was it was called the Active Hours Hotel, where you could just party there 24/7. And I was sitting there in the staff room when I won't name him, but the chairperson of one high up, like someone who runs ALA, straight up said, if somebody calls to the hotel, like somebody calls the front desk for a noise complaint, I'm gonna tell them to go to another hotel. And look where that led them. You know how many times the ambulance was called to that hotel?
Ratchetson. A Ratchetson. Dude, legitimately, whether or not this was the case, but I believe everyone believes it to be the case, the fact that it had to be purchased off from the convention center called the Gateway instead. You've got a whole ass other 360 days out of the year. Yet for some reason, it feels like this event is the one that ultimately led to the destruction of the Radisson.
That hotel was weird. Like, but And I'm not gonna lie. Remember how like, and it was real destruction. Remember like one of the second years they put up the new wallpaper in the elevator because I guess they were trying to renovate. They were trying to renovate, and then by day 2 or 3, people had peeled it all off. And it's like, man, we are destructive.
Congratulations, you have your Lauderdale is right there.
No one called it the gateway. Yeah, it was always the Radisson. It was always the Ratchetson. It was you could call it whatever the fuck you wanted. It's sad because it's being renovated again. Or at least it was last time I went to Anime AX Chibi.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a Marriott. It's one of the cheap Marriott brands, like one of the budget ones. But yeah, it's no longer anything like that. I'm like, it's so sad. I miss that hotel. I loved
Daniel
it.
just admitted he tore down. You should not have included yourself so happily when you said "we." That was a little too much, man. Um,
No,
but
I
like,
will admit this. I will admit this. That there was this weird, like, if you walk to the second floor, it would be this big, long circular hallway. And I remember it. It would just go on forever, and there'd be this weird room in the middle. Like we could tell it was an addition. Where like it'd just be this big empty hallway, and maybe there was furniture there at one point. Maybe it was a different year, but one year it was just like an empty room, and there was carpet in the corner that was kind of coming up, and and I was like, I was there with like, I think it was like Molly and Garway and a few other friends. And I'm like,
Manuel,
oh my
don't
god,
implicate any more people right now.
I need to tell this story. I need look at this carpet, and I lifted it up.
you know what? You know what I'm starting to realize? That
What?
comment I made about the differences between North and South. Okay, I think the reason North and South don't will clash sometimes, give or take the view. Okay, and I'm just saying this because I party with like a lot of people, and I would do a lot of that stuff over at Fanime as well as SAC. I have come to the understanding that we in Southern California are a destructive bunch.
No, we
We
are.
are literally
I
the
destroyed that
ones.
carpet.
Weapon?
I destroyed that carpet. I pulled the carpet like as much up as I could, and then I only stopped because it got too like I literally couldn't lift it anymore unless I wanted to like
We
get on the
are
floor.
we are we are addicted to the lifestyle, and it is a very specific kind. You'll
It's-
find it everywhere. I bet every state has their like their type of peeps that are like going to be the absolute party animals and whatnot. And by comparison, that's probably why Fanime has stayed alive as much as it could with its fan by fan type deal, despite.
Did you know Fanime is a dry con though? For all the partying you do there and the fact they take over that fucking park as ParkCon, they
Yeah.
officially their stance is that we don't drink at this convention.
Oh yeah, because I totally didn't notice a bunch of people literally over by the hot dog area. You guys, they're about to come down that road by the McDonald's, open up their cars and start throwing up, like straight up.
You
I
know
saw
how
this one guy, like he literally just passenger side. This one guy just like opens the door and just goes, like just all on the ground.
we were at the LobbyCon, one of the ALAs at the Radisson, and like I was drinking there with like Yuji and a few other friends, and she's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Out of the corner of my eye, I see her. She makes to the hallway where the bathrooms are and just vomits on the carpet.
I want to quickly say something also in the midst of your story, because here it's saying, I guess it's good. I've only ever gone solo or roomed with the tamest people for East Coast cons, but at the same time, my friend got his badge pulled for having beer inside a con area. But like with
What?
with that one specifically, hold on, with that one specifically. When I was over at one evening at Fanime, you know how they have that big table in between the two parts of the Fremont?
Yeah.
For the Fairmont, okay? So, like, I don't know what time. I'm gonna say it was, like, at least past 10 or something like that. There were a bunch of people playing beer pong off of that thing.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, and because it's such a big, like because it's a monument table thing,
Did anyone
literally.
stop him?
Weapon?
Did anyone stop him?
No one was. You didn't get your, like, 2:30, let's end this party out here by the fountain at ALA. It was literally, like, just literally just broad, cars could roll up at any time. It's technically not that above level with the sidewalk or anything like that. And it's just really funny because I was just kind of like, oh, everyone's playing beer pong off of the thing. Okay,
It's
cool
wild to
thing.
me because I've said this before. I don't know if like Fanime, and sorry we keep jumping back and forth. I don't know if Fanime has pictures of the police chief like doing some crazy shit or something like that. But like I was talking to Rachel about and by the way, I'm not really gonna do this. So if it happens, don't look at me. But I've made the joke before that if I want people to come to my room to come party outside of ParkCon, I would just like call the police and be like, "Hey, there's kids drinking here," and if they went, they would see kids drinking there. And then Rachel showed me a picture of her doing a peace sign in front of the cops who were ignoring ParkCon. I didn't know that they were police officers who were actually patrolling it. How the fuck do they allow that?
Once
And
again, I'm going to say that they're not dealing.
it's not just the
Not
public drinking. There are people you haven't been recently. There are people selling drinks like who are walking around with like their jungle juice like in a big like drink container and who are selling drinks like for money, and there are tons of kids drinking. Like we're talking like, and I'm not saying like, oh, like they look like they might be teenagers. I mean like the young weebs who were like their first con who were just drinking tons of shit.
dude,
See,
dude,
jealous of the
dude.
$5.
What's it called? I remember seeing them rolling by like they ain't seen nothing, and then the cops is like, maybe that's why Fanime can't pay staff. They're paying the police or
Exactly.
give.
I don't get it. I don't get it because
Okay,
like
so the party scene.
I always assumed that cops just didn't show up, that they were told not to go there, but Rachel has pictures where the cops are just ignoring it. And I just
Okay,
don't know.
so genuinely, I want to say that just because the Bay Area has been dealing probably with like stretches from like Sacramento in terms of bigger business that like pushes out other business, it could just be simply seen as like we're sticking to our old ways type of deal to have like whatever community that we have that could just be really strong together. Whereas over in Southern California, where we suffer from the abundance of different events, some of which spring to last, others that just don't. So you might as well live every day in the moment, which causes everyone to go absolutely bonkers. I'm not counting the fire. The fire thing was a very
Oh, this is the car,
specifically
yeah.
targeted thing. So I don't want to add that to it. But in terms of all the other like craziness from the collective of like Southern California congoers, I be saying they are addicted to the lifestyle, and that's probably why they probably feel like when you have a Southern California person who's like very much live in the moment versus Northern Cal, which is pretty much a let's see like how we can still keep things going because it's pretty tough. You probably have that clashing sentiment. I mean, everyone can like party together, but I think it's very vastly things that happen. So yeah, the money is being used to pay off the cops so that
I,
everything is like.
it's funny that Richie mentioned how somebody pulled a badge for having a beer. I don't do this anymore, but there was a period after I went to all those Vegas cons because you could like just drink at some of the cons that were like in the hotels. That
Yeah.
like I would, if I was drinking a mixed drink like a Tokyo tea or a Long Island iced tea, I would just pour that into like a water bottle, like a like a metal water bottle. I would just pour it into a water bottle and just take it with me to the panel and just drink it during the panel. And like I've given like people have taken like Taiwan beers, like because usually they're like fruity, and like you can't, if you unless you read the bottle, you don't know it's alcohol. And like Tiffany and like other people have walked up to panels too, just drinking those openly, and it never occurred to us we could have got in trouble for that. Oops, oops. I just don't
Yeah.
do that anymore.
Dude, I was
Okay.
over at a
Oh, we need
different
to start wrapping
con.
this up.
Yeah.
Enemy
We'll
is the
wrap it
rock
up.
and
Okay.
roll apart era.
Let me wrap it up just because you brought up with drinks. So there's this one time I went to a Yu-Gi-Oh Taiwanese sub party. And so when I was going in there, it's just kind of like a small ass television, whatever the hell. So everyone's just vibing. But this one person is giving out everyone drinks over at ALA, Ontario version, residence in area.
Oh,
So they're just giving away drinks. It's really dope. Not having to tip like at that one room over in the Ratchet's Inn, but like that one was also popping for different reasons. But this room though, at a certain point after two of my Mason size sweet ass drinks, at a certain point I was like, I have to leave. Like just out of nowhere, I was like, I think I should go. And all of a sudden my stomach's feeling weird. On my way back to my hotel, I like throw up, and then I end up going into like my hotel room, go to the restroom to throw up, and then it turns out I blacked out.
no, like
Like
I mean, Fanime has been the only con where I've blacked out several times. There was, I think I've mentioned this before. There's been one time in my life and in my life, mind you, that and I'm not 100% sure it's from the alcohol, it might be from what I ate too, where I vomited after drinking, and it was at Fanime like 2014 or 15. And also, it was a different Fanime where like a friend of mine had to like basically carry me from like, well, not fully carry me because they would not be able to do that, but like carry me from like the Marriott to the fucking Fairmont. And, and it was funny because like I was so drunk, I was like live streaming like on Facebook or whatever, like with my phone, and then I just like kind of passed out, and he didn't know how to stop it, so he kept live streaming like, guys, if you if you're going to Manuel's room to drink, go home. He's passed out. I'm taking him back. But yeah. Anyways, on that note, I guess we'll end it there. JD, you gotta party with us. You gotta do this. Everyone go to we're going to WonderCon in a couple weeks. I'm going to party there. Then everyone go to Fanime. Everyone go to Hentai Matsuri. Everyone go to Off Kai at AX and party everywhere. JD, I'm gonna get you drunk next time. That's my goal.
Level Up Expo
Manuel,
in Vegas.
you can't peer pressure me into that. I'm sorry. It would have happened already if it could have.
I'm gonna just inject it into your veins. I'm just gonna come behind you and like just jam a needle. Just okay, that's probably a crime at that point.
Yes, I believe that is a crime, Manuel. Don't admit to anything until you have your lawyer present.
Oh yeah, level up too. I actually forgot level up is after WonderCon. WonderCon level up. Fanime? Off Kai the
It's like
Matsuri,
maybe AX is
AX.
paying the fire marshal despite all the violations it does.
Inject the anime straight into your veins. Yes. Anyways, peace out. We'll leave it here. Tomorrow, play more Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. Tomorrow, we already got the gold chocobo, so we're actually gonna play like some actual like we're gonna finish the game. I think we have 2 more streams, ish, and then this Friday we're gonna play some drunk D&D.
You're just gonna chuck Knights of the Round at everything. Of course,
we've already it's funny because you don't know how right you already are because we already got Knights of the Round last stream.
Of course, I'm right. Like, I fast forwarded past the point where you got the gold chocobo, and yeah. I'm like, I wonder how many times they're just gonna like rely on that.
Like, anytime we're having even the slightest trouble, like a monster hits us for a little bit too much, like bring Knights of the Round.
If you literally try to fast forward, you'll probably think that the fast forward button is broken because it's literally just a black screen with a random polygon figure probably just wailing at the screen, and you'll probably try and do it, but it's an unskippable like wailing of random knights. So it's very much like, yes, I know what you're doing. There's no reason not to do that. Oh man.
I don't know if we ever beat the weapons on stream, you're gonna see Knights of the Round like 20-30 times. Be prepared for that if we do it.
Maybe twice. You can't do a summon more than like so many. You could probably do it twice.
If you have the master summon, you can do it as many times as you want.
Oh jeez. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yes.
Peace out. Thank you for watching.
Hey Manuel, what else are we doing this week?
Oh, Drink Talk Raw. We've been playing Drunk Dungeons and Dragons on Friday. Please tune into that too. We're in a dungeon, so it'll probably be a lot of fighting.
Mm-hmm. And Josh, anything you want to promote?
Check me out on my streams over on Twitch here. I have been starting to stream more regularly. Games of which include Persona 3 Reload and Genshin Impact. So at some point, I am going to also bring back the playthrough I had on The Last of Us Part 2, and then also play a little bit of let me see, what's the another horror game that I swear I was playing. Resident Evil 2 probably. There we go. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I've been checking them out too. So peace out. Good night.
Night, everybody.